Barely settling into my new job, I was stunned to see the whole office buzzing about Marie's wedding, everyone invited but me. I didn't mind, but things got weird when I stumbled into the drama of her lunch hour shower. I chipped in cash, offered food, only to be coldly rebuffed. "You're not welcome." Why? What did I do? Before I could figure it out, the big boss showed up, and an ending no one saw coming flipped everything upside down. When I started my new job at this company, the atmosphere was already buzzing with excitement over something big I hadn't yet grasped. It was my first day hearing the name Sophie, a colleague I'd only briefly met at the pantry while grabbing coffee. Soon enough, I realized the entire office was abuzz about her upcoming wedding, set to happen in just 2 months. From lively chats by the coffee machine to sparkling eyes mentioning her wedding dress, it was clear everyone was invited. Everyone except me, the newcomer still finding my footing. I wasn't too surprised. After all, I'd only been with the team for less than 2 weeks, while Sophie had been here for ages, building close ties with everyone. One morning, as I organized papers at my desk, I overheard 2 colleagues nearby. "Have you picked accessories for your outfit yet?" one asked eagerly. "Not yet, but I heard Sophie booked a fancy venue, only close friends and family," the other replied with a light laugh. I bowed my head, pretending to be busy, but a flicker of curiosity stirred about this event the whole company seemed to live for. Truthfully, I didn't expect an invitation. I'd seen a friend's wedding unfold recently. The months of hectic planning, the carefully curated guest list, and how everything had to fit the budget and space. To Sophie, I was just a new face, someone she might vaguely recall from a few polite hellos. Once, while I was getting water from the cooler, Sophie walked in holding a stack of elegant ivory invitations. She gave me a small smile, but her eyes flickered with unease, as if weighing whether to say something. I just nodded back and turned away, not wanting her to think I was expecting anything. Sometimes, I noticed Sophie lowering her voice about the wedding when I was around. Once, she was mid-story about choosing flowers, then stopped abruptly, glanced at me, and switched topics. I didn't mind, even making a point to act indifferent so she'd feel at ease. I didn't feel left out or hurt in the slightest. After all, we hadn't had time to form any real bond. I just figured this was her big day, and I, a fresh outsider, had no reason to wedge myself into her meticulously chosen guest list. So I kept to my work, maintaining distance, and let things flow naturally. After a few weeks of settling into the job and the buzz around Sophie's wedding, I was surprised to find myself CC'd on an email from Sarah, a friendly colleague I'd only exchanged brief hellos with. The email announced a lunch-hour shower for Sophie in the company break room, set for 2 weeks later. Sarah called for contributions to a group cash gift and suggested turning it into a potluck. She included her Venmo and asked us to reply with what we'd bring. I reread it, mildly shocked to be included, especially since I wasn't invited to the wedding. Still, I wasn't bothered. I've always believed everyone deserves celebration on special occasions, even if I'm just an outsider. Thinking of Sophie, someone I wasn't close to but found likable, I decided to join in. I opened Venmo, sent $20 with a quick note, "Congrats, Sophie." Then I drafted an email to Sarah saying I'd bring a tray of lasagna, a dish I'm confident in from cooking for friends. Done, I smiled, picturing everyone gathered in the break room enjoying food and laughter. The next day, while sifting through work emails, I got a Venmo alert. My $20 had been refunded. I frowned, double-checking, but there was no explanation. Before I could process it, Sarah messaged me through the company chat. "You don't need to contribute. I forgot to update the list." The message was curt, but I sensed hesitation. I replied instantly, "No worries. I'd still like to give something for Sophie, even if I'm not going to the wedding." After a pause, she wrote back, let me check with Sophie." I nodded at the screen, thinking it was just a minor mix-up. That noon, while eating a sandwich at my desk, I caught whispers from a group by the coffee machine. Someone mentioned the shower, then glanced my way, murmuring to the person next to them. I pretended not to notice, but a gut feeling told me something was off. Late that afternoon, another email from Sarah popped up. This time she was clearer. "You can still bring lasagna if you want, but I'm returning the money. Sophie really appreciates your kindness." I read it and gave a wry smile. Though uninvited to the wedding, I wanted to chip in for Sophie's happiness, but it seemed my enthusiasm was either misunderstood or subtly rejected. I shut down my computer, resolving to prepare the lasagna as promised, no matter what came next. After confirming I'd bring lasagna and getting my $20 refunded by Sarah via Venmo, I started sensing a strange vibe in the office. A few days later, Sarah messaged me internally. "Can you meet me at the pantry for a sec?" I agreed, assuming she wanted to discuss the food or money. When I arrived, Sarah stood there, coffee in hand, looking tense. "Sophie knows you want to contribute to the shower," she began hesitantly, "but you're not actually invited." I froze, thinking I'd misheard. "What do you mean? It's in the break room. I can't go in," I asked, keeping my tone steady. Sarah nodded, her eyes dodging mine. "Exactly. Sophie doesn't want you assuming you're invited to the wedding just because you're at the shower." I let out a dry laugh, irritation creeping in. "I get it. I'm not expecting a wedding invite. I just want to celebrate Sophie." Sarah shrugged, visibly uneasy. "I know, but Sophie wants clear boundaries. Just stay at your desk during lunch that day, okay?" I frowned. "So, where do I go? I don't drive, and there's nowhere nearby I can reach in an hour." She stammered. "Well, just stay at your desk." I left the pantry, my mind spinning. Everyone else gets to eat and chat in the break room, while I'm told to sit alone at my desk, like I'm being punished. I wondered if I'd unintentionally upset Sophie. That afternoon, I messaged her internally. "Just checking. Did I do anything to offend you? I only meant to congratulate you." Sophie replied quickly. "No, you didn't do anything wrong. I just want to avoid misunderstandings. Thanks for understanding." Polite words, but they left me chilled. Avoid what misunderstanding when I'd already made it clear I had no expectations? The night before the shower, I still prepared the lasagna as promised, though I knew I wouldn't get to bring it. Standing in my kitchen, mixing cheese and tomato sauce, I replayed how I'd been excluded from an event at my own workplace. Another colleague, Tom, texted me, "You really bringing lasagna tomorrow? Sounds tasty." I replied curtly, "Probably not, I'm not invited." He went quiet for a bit, then texted back, "That's weird." I slid the lasagna into the fridge, deciding I'd give it to my neighbors, instead of letting it go to waste. Despite the rejection, I didn't want my effort to be for nothing. But the sting of isolation lingered, like a tiny thorn pricking my pride. The day of Sophie's shower finally arrived. After Sarah's blunt rejection and Sophie's confirmation that I wasn't welcome, I braced myself for a solitary lunch break. That morning, I brought a simple meal: rice, chicken, and some veggies, leaving behind any thoughts of the lasagna I'd prepped the night before. When the lunch bell rang, I watched everyone shuffle into the break room, their laughter echoing through the slightly ajar door. I stayed at my desk, opened my lunchbox, and focused on each bite, trying to ignore the sting of exclusion. The office grew eerily quiet, save for the faint clack of my keyboard between bites. Suddenly, the main door swung open, and Helen, the big boss, strode in. She rarely showed up on Fridays, so her presence startled me. Dressed in a sharp gray suit, Helen scanned the empty office before locking eyes on me. "Why are you sitting here alone?" she asked, her voice low but commanding. I stopped chewing, set my chopsticks down, feeling oddly caught out. I wasn't invited to the shower in the break room," I replied, my voice soft but honest. Helen's brow furrowed as she stepped closer. "Shower? What do you mean?" She crossed her arms, her piercing gaze demanding the truth. I took a deep breath and explained briefly. "The office is throwing a party for Sophie during lunch, but I was told to stay here." She went silent, then turned toward the break room. Through the door's gap, I glimpsed people toasting, oblivious to Helen's arrival. "Who said you couldn't join?" she pressed, her tone chilling. "Sarah told me, because Sophie didn't want me getting the wrong idea about the wedding," I answered, keeping my tone neutral. Helen didn't respond, but her grip tightened visibly. She marched to the break room door and shoved it open. The chatter inside halted instantly, replaced by stunned stares fixed on her. I couldn't hear her words, but her sharp gestures and stern expression suggested she was grilling someone. After a moment, she returned, giving me a final glance, part puzzled, part annoyed, before leaving without another word. I sat there, heart pounding, unsure if I'd just sparked trouble or merely witnessed a tense moment. Laughter from the break room resumed faintly, but I sensed a shift in the air, like a small storm quietly brewing. After Helen left, the office air grew heavy, though the break room party dragged on until lunch ended. I sat at my desk, trying to focus on work, but my mind replayed Helen's sharp gaze sweeping over me. That afternoon, an email from her hit everyone's inbox. Subject: New rules on work hours activities. It read, "Effective today, all personal parties or events are banned during work hours, including lunch breaks. Please comply." No explanation, no mention of what happened, but I knew why. Word spread like wildfire. Within an hour, I heard whispers from a group in the corner. "Did you see Helen's email? It's definitely because of Sophie's party," one murmured. "But why ban it out of nowhere? Did someone snitch?" Another replied, voice laced with suspicion. I bowed my head, pretending to be engrossed in a spreadsheet, but my heart raced as I felt eyes graze me. Sarah, near the printer, shot me a sharp glance before turning away. Sophie was quieter, but as she passed my desk for water, I noticed how she avoided eye contact, like silent anger simmering. By day's end, Tom, the guy who'd texted about lasagna, stopped by. "What'd you say to Helen when she asked?" he probed. I shrugged. "Just the truth. I wasn't invited." Tom nodded, but his eyes held pity. "Might want to watch out. Sarah and Sophie think you're why Helen stepped in." I gave a faint laugh. I didn't mean to ruin anything, just answered her question. He patted my shoulder and left, leaving me with growing unease. The next morning, the office turned frigid. Sarah stopped greeting me, her work exchanges clipped and cold. Sophie ignored me entirely, even when I tried starting small talk about a shared project. Once I overheard Sarah near the pantry telling another colleague, if someone hadn't blabbed, we'd still be throwing parties fine. Her tone dripped with implication, and I knew that someone was me. The isolation wasn't just from missing the party anymore. It was the stark rejection from people once friendly. I texted a close friend, spilling everything. He replied, "You shouldn't have told Helen the truth. Say you were busy and you'd be fine. Now the whole office hates you." His advice made me pause. Should I have lied? But I hadn't done anything wrong, just answered honestly when asked. Now, I sat amid the office, feeling cold stares, wondering if I was really the villain they painted me as.